Did you know FamilyTreeMagazine.com has a huge library of free genealogy forms and other resources? This is Courtney Henderson. I'm the digital editor for FamilyTreeMagazine.com, and I'm here to show you exactly where you can find all of these great genealogy freebies. So first things first, if you already have an account with us, go ahead and sign in. That will make things easier, and I'll explain that in just a second. If you don't want to create an account, you're just here for one form or two, that's fine. You can still go to the free resources page. Just know you're going to have to enter in your email for every form that you want so we can send it to you. If you have an account already, then you can get one-click access. You just press a button and you can download the form and so on and so forth. You don't need to enter in your email every single time. So I would recommend just going ahead and creating an account. It's free and it's really easy. And the bonus is, if you do create an account with us, we will email you 10 of our most popular essential genealogy forms. So to do that, you'll come up here and you want to click on this button that says Free Genealogy Forms. That will take you to this registration page. Put in your email, choose a password, and you're all set. You're good to go. So once you have an account and you're logged in, you want to come and hover on free resources. You can click on it, but that will take you to a landing page that just sort of gives you a brief overview. I created this pop-up menu so you can see at a glance all the different categories we have for all the different forms. I've also linked directly to a couple of things here that I'll talk about in just a second. So this is on desktop. If you're on mobile, you're going to see a little arrow next to free resources. If you just click on that, that'll bring up this same menu. Okay, so first we have the essential genealogy forms. These are the forms you will get when you create an account. But if you want to see them individually, they're right here on this page. These are two super popular forms right off the bat, 5-generation ancestor chart and a family group sheet. A lot of people are looking for these. Sometimes people are looking for them for projects. So different reasons that go beyond just genealogy research, but they're super popular, super helpful. Everybody really likes to use them. But if you come on down here, we also have an ancestor research worksheet, a genealogy records checklist, a family relationship chart, online search tracker, which is just a way for you to notate which online databases you've searched, like Ancestor Your Family Search. Ancestor surname variant chart. We have a whole video dedicated to surname research. We do talk about this a little bit, how the spelling would change. This is that form that you can use. A great interview record where you can interview one of your relatives and keep track of what they have to tell you. A census checklist, and then a source citation guide. So you're going to see these reference guides and forms in other places that we're going to go over. Just think about this as like the top 10, the most popular. But that's where you can find those. So the next section is the family tree templates and relationship charts. And again, there's some of that overlap. If I've already talked about it, I'm just going to kind of go on through it, but if it's something unique to this page, then I'll stop and talk about it. So we have two really, really great templates here, adoptive and step family. This is a biographical outline that you can use. This is especially helpful when you're writing a family history. Here's a military service record biography. This is so nice. There's even a place for a picture just to record your ancestors' military service. This is another very, very popular chart. When you get those DNA matches, we all want to know how we're related. It'll come up that you're third cousins or fifth cousins, and this will tell you like the percentages that you share DNA, what cousins you are. Okay, next up we have research forms and organizers. These really get in the weeds, and if you want to organize your research, if you're a long-term researcher, these are helpful. If you're a beginner, start off right. Download some different forms and really get organized from the start. First one, I love this. It's just, for lack of a better term, we all have family history stuff. We all have that box a relative gave us full of photos and papers. What do we do with it? You want to organize it, you want to go through it, you want to protect those documents and those photos. This is a great at a glance to see what you can keep and what you can toss. I should also point out, I consider these quick reference guides, I consider a form anything that you will fill out. So you're going to see some overlap on these forms pages just because I want to make sure people know, oh, we also have this. So it's not technically a form that you fill out, but it still might be helpful depending on what your needs are. Personal records inventory, file name template for, you want a consistent naming system that helps with that. These are note-taking forms for filing your notes, and there's two different ways to do that, by surname and record type or by couple and family group, just depending on how you want to organize your research. Just a nice table of contents for all your files. This gets into research plans, and I feel like at the beginning of the year, we're all very determined to tackle our research methodically. These are great for doing that. So we have a research planner, records that you've already researched, how to track those, research repository checklist. So, you're heading to the library, you can make notes on this form ahead of time of what you want to research. These are just nice, this article reading and the book checklist, those are both nice just to notate where you've already looked. Here's a book wish list. We all, as much as things go online, I don't know. I feel like genealogists especially, we all kind of like that hard copy in our hands. This is just a nice way to keep track of things we might like to have in our own reference library or something we'd like to borrow. So sources research, just great place to jot some notes down. A source reference list. Burned County records inventory, nice way to get around those brick walls caused by those burned records. Project management worksheet, so you can take what feels like a giant research project and break it down into manageable chunks and to-do lists with this form. This is kind of neat, this Create Your Own Genealogy Research City Guide. If you want to help other genealogists or want to just keep track for yourself, you can notate on here in your city where you can find certain records. Just a nice little research trip budget planner and checklist. Those can get expensive, but sometimes they're necessary to go to another city or another state and research those records. Back to kind of the idea of a research plan, here it's broken out for a year, and then if you want to do something a little more manageable at first, we do have one just for the month. And finally, just a nice research checklist, kind of another way to sort of get over brick walls. You too can be a genealogy research ninja. And then down here, I've just included a couple of correspondence logs. These are nice. You reach out to a library or another family member, you can kind of notate what you asked for and when you asked. Okay, moving right along. We have records worksheets. So this is a little bit more of a deep dive, right? You're focused on, let's say census records. There's some sheets on here that are really going to help you. Plus, we also have census worksheets, which are helpful if you want to transcribe, but these will also break down and have some helpful information. So here we have, and you saw this on the essentials page, this is just a great records checklist. And like this says, if you've hit a brick wall, get this out and start crossing things off. You never know. It just takes that one little resource and you found what you're looking for. This is just records you've already researched. And then this goes into a little bit of the different record types. Again, here's more of like a reference guide kind of thing, but I still think that if you're looking here for records forms, it's also kind of nice to know, oh, we also have this reference chart for US statewide vital records. A couple of marriage records forms. And again, these are a couple of the reference guides, but a nice checklist. Again, just I think these checklists are so great for brick walls. And then I love this. We have several glossaries, so I'm spreading the word. If you did not know we have these, we have them. You can download them. You can keep them on your computer and look at them. You can print them out and keep them with, specific, like if you have a file for courthouse records, keep this with it. It's legal terms. I did not go to law school. Maybe some of you did, and these legal terms do not stump you, but if you did not, these are great to reference when you're looking through those courthouse records, what exactly they mean. So some more transcribing here for deeds, and we have by grantee or by grantor, so just depending on how you're wanting to look at the record and how you're wanting to notate your research. Cemetery records, again, just a nice transcription form. There's also a tombstone iconography guide. Military records, same thing, nice checklist here. This, another one of those fantastic reference kind of glossary things that you can download. The military, they love their acronyms. My husband was in the military and we would just speak in alphabet to each other constantly. But this is a really nice, when you're looking through those records, well, what does that mean? It's nice to have this kind of quick glance guide. Okay, moving right along, we have here, now these are just the census worksheets by themselves. And we have a couple of extra helpful census forms here. This is more like a quick reference of all the official US Census dates. Here's that checklist again. And then this is for state censuses. And then a worksheet for those special US Census schedules. And then these just go year by year, starting with 1790. Fantastic for transcribing and making sure that you get all that information you need out of the census records. And they go on down here. Immigration forms, kind of the same thing, just really nice for transcribing passenger lists. During this time period here, they were called customs lists. But again, kind of just the same idea of having a nice form to transcribe over onto. Okay, then our last forms page is our family history forms. These cover all sorts of different things. So not so heavily research as some of the other forms. This is more about your own family history, recording it and keeping track of it. Here's some great heirloom forms. This is a book box you can make that is a protective box for like a family Bible or a diary. We've got step by step on YouTube. This is also the instructions plus the supply list that you need, and then the calculator for how big you need to make it, but you can watch the video on YouTube. So if you're wanting to do a project, a writing project, an interview project, there's some things here. And also these are just great to keep for future generations. You've got a family traditions recording form, that oral history interview form again. This, I love this. This is a shot list for genealogy projects. So I feel like around the holidays, we're all scrambling to make photo books. This will tell you like what are the essential shots that would be nice for your family history. Kind of along the same lines, this is a photo project planning worksheet where you can just really lay out how you want it to look and what information you want in there. Ditto, here's something more of like a writing project. This is another writing project, but instead of being people, it's for heirlooms. And I love that take on it. We've got a whole article about how to write, the author calls them treasure tales. And then also just a family reunion planning checklist. These are always great. Keep you organized. A time capsule questions form if that's a project you want to do. And then down here we just have a couple of inventory forms for your family photos or your home movies. Okay, so now we're going to go to the quick reference guides. And again, you're going to see some overlap here. I just included in both places. Now, this is the page that has all of the quick reference guides. These are just links directly to some of our most popular. And right there, past article indexes, I know a lot of you are looking for those, and that's where you can find those and download those. Okay, so here we go. These are guides just by record type again. There's the US statewide vital records one again, and I get like you're going to see some duplicates here. This corresponds with the 1880 census. This is that DDD supplemental census. A couple of handy immigration reference guides. Here's a migration route. A couple things about naturalization laws. This is really nice. So this is a timeline of US conflicts and also a birth date chart. So you can kind of cross-reference when you're looking at your military records. This is when you're researching land records. You know, it depends if your ancestor lived in a state land state or a public land state. That can affect the information in the records. Getting into a little bit of foreign records research here. Canadian provinces, just some fast facts about those. Oh, okay, here is another glossary. But what's nice about these, we have these for a couple of different languages. When you're researching in another country, in another language, there are genealogy terms you're going to come across a lot. Birth, death, son, daughter. These are so nice to have to reference when you're researching because, I mean, the language barriers are already difficult enough. These will help you kind of decipher some of those records. We've got them for Czech, French, German. We also have a couple of extra German reference guides. This one's for that Frankfurter, that old scripty writing that's in a lot of the old German records. This will kind of help you decipher that. Here's a map of the German diaspora. Something about Hungarian counties. An Irish poor law unions map. And then here's another one of those genealogy term glossaries for Spanish. A couple of great downloads for DNA and genetic genealogy. There's that cousin chart again. Here's another one of those really nice genealogy terms glossaries. And these are just sort of like helpful general reference guides, kind of just run the gamut of all different kinds of topics. There's that source citations guide again. This is nice, you know, of course, we're digitizing everything. So this is nice to know, you know, back up this, but you don't really need to back up this thing. An old occupations glossary. This is great. You come across a kind of a funny term, maybe in a census record. You can refer to this to find out what that was. I love this if you've got a family cookbook project or you've been handed some family recipes and the measurements are a little cryptic, like this says, this lists what those measurements are and then their modern equivalents, which is so nice. Just some computer keyboard shortcuts. There are the article indexes. And then just a couple Directory of Family History Centers and a free versions of subscription databases. Okay, and then we are going to move on to genealogy eBooks. And again, these are just some of the popular titles. You can just click right here, go right to that page and click a button and download the ebook that you want. But I'll show you all the ones we have. This is really great genealogy brick wall. Who does not need help? I know I do. This is a great reference to have. Here's one on military records, US Census records, surnames, and here I've listed just what each book has. This is our most popular ebook download. We all need some help with getting organized. Some writing prompts, a little bit about preserving old photos, a family reunion planning guide. We've got a couple of search tips books here for ancestry and family search. We have a couple of heritage research guides. Here's one for African American ancestry and then one for Native American ancestry. You know, an ebook kind of exploring which DNA test is right for you, and then kind of an overview of genetic genealogy. So those are all of the different forms, reference guides that you can, again, keep them on your desktop, or you can print them out, as many copies as you want. They're just, you can utilize them for all different sorts of things, but that's our library. It's all free for you to use for your genealogy research. The last resource I wanted to touch on is our podcast. And Lisa Louise Cook, she hosts Genealogy Gems. She's got her own YouTube channel. She is at Roots Tech all the time. She's just a fantastic expert genealogist and person all the way around. She is our host for our podcast, and you can listen to that. There's a new one every month. So this is our podcast page, and right here at the top, we have a podcast listening guide. So that will just take you through kind of what the podcast is, what the different segments are, and some of our favorite episodes. But this page has every single episode, going back to when the podcast first started, I believe 2004? It's a long time. We have been podcasting for a while, and there's just so much great information here. You can listen to them right here on this page. We haven't updated all of those yet, so if you get down lower, those haven't been added yet, but we're trying to add them right here on this page. But if you want, you can go right here, and these are where you're going to find the show notes that Lisa talks about in the podcast, or right here on this podcast episode page. So here's where you can listen to it, or you can download it. And then this goes through what's in the episode, and then each segment, and then any kind of related articles that we have. And just another really, really nice resource, totally free. We also publish our podcasts on YouTube, so you can listen to them here, or you can listen to them on YouTube, or of course you can subscribe with a podcast app and listen to them that way. But that does it. Those are the free resources you will find on FamilyTreeMagazine.com. Please come and check them out. If you don't have an account, please sign up for a free account. You can have easy access to all this great stuff. Thanks so much.